YouTube. We're live. Hello there.
Hi. Are we live?
Yep.
Cool. We're live. I just turned the stream on. Close. There we go. Cool. That's the only way I have to see chat, I think. So.
That's fair.
Oh, shit. I need to mute the stream. There we go. You are frozen.
I'm right here.
Well, you were frozen. You're not frozen anymore.
I don't think I was frozen. I think I was just staring.
Oh, no, you were not moving. You're a
No.
little stuttery. Might be better now. Can you, is it, is it possible to share like a Streamlabs setup?
I don't think so.
Oh, let's see that. Because then if you could just share it with me, then I could grab it and I stream it. I don't know what kind of internet you have.
Shite.
It's not shit. So, what are we going to talk about? To the whole nobody that's watching.
We are talking about the eye of the world up until they leave.
Yeah. So, I have a couple of notes. You want to start there? I don't know. These are old. I mean, these a long time ago.
We can start with chapter 1.
Well, there's a prologue.
A wind blew down from the mountains of mist.
There was a prologue.
There was, but the prologue.
It's very out of context.
Yes.
Yes.
For our purposes, the prologue is extremely out of context.
Okay, we can talk about the prologue maybe when there's more context.
Yeah. We can always go back and do that. I'm fine.
Yeah. So, the first thing I noticed when I was taking notes when I read this like a year ago, because I wanted to take notes, the sandhills used to be ocean front, like a beach.
Yeah, well, that makes sense because there's a lot of the world that had changed since the breaking.
I know, but I never like realized that until I was like, oh shit.
Okay.
I thought it was kind of cool. That early on you get kind of a glimpse of how much the world has changed.
Yeah.
By page 8, you already know that Nynaeve can listen to the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah. We definitely need to set this up so that I can stream it because you are freezing.
Yeah, I told you that.
I can't tell if it's happening on the stream and in just the video I am watching.
I have
think
no
it's
idea.
both, though.
Probably. Probably.
Yep. Also, the wine spring is huge.
The Wantering River?
No, the inn.
Oh, yeah.
Flippin' massive.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize how extra massive it was. Because I always pictured the Two Rivers like this tiny little village, and then the wine spring could like literally house everybody who lives there. But I guess it's bigger than that.
I remember when I first read through it, when I pictured it, like obviously when they go into Eamon's Field, like it's a very, very small farmer's town, and I kind of expected everything in there to be extremely small as well. So I didn't envision the wine spring inn being as large either. But then it is like the most predominant building in the town, so it kind of made sense that it was as big as it was.
It kind of makes me think that the Two Rivers is bigger than we might think that it is.
I don't think it is.
Well, I was thinking about it more like in the terms of the way that the show portrays it. There's a lot of people like in that introductory scene coming into like the green. There's a lot of people.
The show fucked everything up from like the first 5 words out of Moraine's mouth. The
Okay,
show had
it
already
didn't,
completely
but we
shit
can.
on
Well,
everything that Robert Jordan wrote. Like, I mean,
I'm
they
just gonna
pulled
get
down
out
their
walk away.
pants
I'm
and
just gonna get
dumped
out
on
and
it.
walk away. Oh my god. No, I'm serious. So, like, but
So am I.
outside of your dislike for the show, if you think about the opening scene and how many people they put in it, maybe that's more accurate. Like I never pictured there being that many people, but with the size of the wine spring as it's described in the books, maybe there are.
It's not that big of a town because a merchant coming to town was a huge deal.
Right, but they're also surrounded by mountains. So
Right, but you would think if the town is as large as they portray the town to be, that they're not gonna be like, oh my god, a fucking merchant showed up. Like it's.
true.
And that was a huge fucking deal. Like the fact that there was a merchant that showed up, everybody in town like was just falling over themselves
Enamored.
with glee. Yeah,
Yeah, that is true.
and there was a glee man there, and they'd said that nobody could remember the last time a glee man had been in Eamon's Field.
Yeah.
So
It's
I mean,
interesting though.
like nobody ever
Because even
leaves,
even
nobody
the
ever comes in.
isolation would an isolated village like that, I would think would be smaller.
It absolutely had to have been smaller than how
Yeah.
Amazon fucked it up and portrayed it, because like the entirety of the two rivers, like they made Eamon's Field out to be more populated almost, and I think the entirety of the two rivers was actually populated, including Tarrant Ferry and all that.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. So the ravens are funny already in like chapter 2.
The Ravens?
Yeah, there's a raven on the roof of the wine spring that I think Rand notices. Already being goofy.
Um, so if you go back to the very beginning with Rand and Tam, uh, going into town,
Yeah.
like Rand sees somebody following them, and finds it
Yes.
peculiar.
Yes. Dressed in black
Yep,
with a cloak that doesn't move in the wind, which is
yep.
quite blowy.
Yes,
If
it was very
Rand's
windy. It's very
if
windy.
Rand's cloak is any indication.
It was very windy right into town, and there was a man behind them.
Yep.
Makes it to town. They go to the inn. Uh,
Matt has some sort of animal in a bag.
yes,
Badger, I think.
because Matt is ornery as hell. Like that's what Matt does. Matt gets into mischief. Matt is a very mischievous
Person.
teenage boy.
Yes. Yes. How old are they? They're 17, right?
Yes,
In the books.
yes.
We know they're probably about 22 in the TV show. It's just a difference. It doesn't mean it's bad.
Nah, I didn't
If we
say
age them
anything.
up a little bit, it's fine.
I didn't say anything. Yeah,
Oh,
they get there. We meet Egwene. We meet Bran Alvear.
yep.
We meet her mother. I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
Marin?
Yes, Marin Alvera.
Yes. I think it's Marin.
They're in town, and
They spend an awful lot, and I just, because I read this yesterday, they spend an awful lot of time in the first chapter talking about how all of the women in town want to see both Rand and Tam hooked up.
yeah. Well,
It's a
because
good deal of time.
Because again, it's a tiny fucking small farmer town, and
Right.
that's what they do. You become of age, you get married. So the fact that Tam is has lost his wife and has never remarried or anything like that, and the fact that Rand is almost of age to become married, it
Yep.
fits their tiny little mountain home values of you're single, get married, live your life.
Yeah.
So then we get to meet Perrin Barra, the blacksmith's apprentice,
Yep.
who's much
Yeah, they
larger
say
than
right off the
everybody in
bat that
town.
Matt and Perrin are Rand's best friends.
I think that Rand and Matt are best friends. I always got the impression, and I could have been wrong, but I always got the impression when I first read it that Perrin was kind of the tag along, like he wanted to be best friends with Matt and Matt and Rand let him tag along, but
I don't know. The book
Rand
actually
but
says
Rand
Rand's
and
best friends,
Perrin
Matt and Perrin.
right, but right, no. I'm not saying they weren't friends, but I'm saying that I always felt that Matt and Rand were very close. Were a lot closer than say Matt and Perrin were or Rand and Perrin were. Like Matt and Perrin were the best friends, and Perrin almost seemed like a third wheel to me when first reading it.
I can see Rand being more willing to engage in Matt's pranks than Rand or than Perrin.
Yes, absolutely, and
Yeah.
I because I believe we're in town. We meet the three boys. We meet Perrin, we meet Matt, we meet Rand, we meet Egwene, we meet Nynaeve,
Yep. Lots of
and
complaining about Nynaeve.
lots of complaining about Nynaeve, the local wisdom,
Yep.
and she has a long braid that runs down her back, and whenever she gets pissed off, she starts tugging on it.
She yanks on it.
Yep, she starts pulling on
Classic.
her braid, and she's the wisdom, so obviously she's the head of the women's circle, and the women's circle and the council of men or whatever are always at odds over who has more power, the mayor or the wisdom, and it's yeah, the whole matriarchy versus patriarchy right off
Yeah.
the get go.
Yep. It sure is actually. I mean, I think one of the first thing that's said is somebody complains to Tam about Nynaeve, and he's like, "That's women's circle business, not
Yep,
any of ours." Yep.
yep. They don't want men to involve themselves in anything having to do with the women's circle, but they are more than willing to interject themselves into anything that has to do with the mayor. I mean, will go out of their way to interject themselves.
Oh, you mean the women?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, they will.
It's just like real life.
Shh. They're not that bad. Come on now.
So, oh goodness. So then we find out that the merchant that traveling merchants coming
Yes.
comes through town, Paddon Fane.
Pot on Fane comes to town.
Paddon Fane comes to town.
Talks
Paddon
about the
Fane
false
comes to
dragon.
town quite quite a bit. He always brings news from the outside world because the Two Rivers is essentially closed off to the outside world.
Yep.
If you're born there, you're raised there, you live there, you die there. Like nobody hardly ever leaves the Two Rivers. Nobody hardly ever comes into the Two Rivers.
Except for Pot on Fane, who's been there regularly.
Yes, he regularly comes to town. Well,
Mm-hmm.
not regularly, but probably yearly or so. And it's about Beltane, so he's coming in to sell gifts and wares for Beltane.
It is interesting. So after Pot on Fane does his little story, if you will,
Hmm.
um, they talk about the Gleeman, and then they talk about if they're gonna get to see the false dragon. And
Yes.
Rand actually makes a comment about who caused the breaking, and
Hmm.
that the dragon may have started it, but it was the Aes Sedai who actually broke the world, implying the females.
Say implying the females, but
He
technically
is
males were Aes Sedai at the time as well. So,
right, but they don't know that.
but we won't. That'll be talk for later episodes when we get more
I just thought
into
it
it.
was interesting that even in their isolation there, that Aes Sedai still caused the breaking,
Then there's
or at least that's what they believe, which leads to their mistrust of characters we'll meet in a moment.
Yes, yes. So we meet
The Gleeman
the
is next.
the peddler, Pat and Fane, and
Yep.
then we get to meet the Gleeman. Gleeman is, kind of a bard type person who comes
Oh,
into
there is
town.
something else. Oh, there is
Yes,
something else that happens before we meet Tom.
Tom is amazing.
Yes, he is. But there's actually a brief thing. I don't know who's talking. I didn't open the book to look. But basically, Nynaeve is talking to somebody, and she mentions that she knows that Egwene will develop the ability to listen to the wind, so she can already feel Egwene's channeling ability, which
Thank
is
you.
interesting.
Thank you, spoiler alert. No. Uh
there's nobody watching. Are those we want to avoid those spoilers then?
No, no, that's fine. That's fine. Um well,
I mean, it's not like you're
maybe
not gonna find
maybe
out in
we
like.
bring it up when we get to that part.
Okay, fine. I mean, it's not like it's not less than 20 chapters away.
So, I think it's longer than that before we find out Nynaeve can channel. Not that
Uh
Egwene can channel, but that Nynaeve can channel is what I was talking about.
oh, I'm not sure about Nynaeve.
Nynaeve we find out, I think, pretty late into book one.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. I'll have to go back and look at that. To be honest, I
Yeah.
don't remember. So yes, Nynaeve is wanting Egwene to become her apprentice, to become Wisdom,
Hmm.
which makes Rand unhappy because Wisdoms rarely marry. Now, if you're retarded fucking Amazon, you say the Wisdom never marries, never has a family. That's not true. Wisdoms can marry, but they
They just rarely do.
generally choose to marry. They generally dedicate their lives to being Wisdom and leading the women's circle, and it's mostly a life of uh, oh god,
Celibacy.
solitude is what I was looking for. Not celibacy, solitude. Um, Jesus. Then we get to meet
Anyway, then
Tom
we get to
Maryland.
Tom.
Then we get to meet Tom Maryland,
Yes,
the
and everybody was
Gleeman,
very excited about the Gleeman.
who happens to come to the Two Rivers,
Hmm.
coincidentally enough, and nobody in the Two Rivers had ever seen a Gleeman live before. This was quite a treat for them. Well,
Never really.
maybe a,
Nobody.
maybe a couple of them, but
I think they'd had one there before, just not in memory for the boys.
yeah. Well, that's more who I was talking about
Yeah.
was the younger main characters, not so much Tam or Bran or Mara or any of them. Marin, I'm sorry. Um, so we get to meet Tom Maryland. He's in the Wine Spring Inn, and then we meet two characters by the name of Moraine Damadred and Lan Mandragoran,
Yep.
an Aes Sedai and her warder.
But they don't know that, do they?
They do know that. That's how they introduce themselves.
No, because they in
Yes, because Moraine goes up to the boys and gives each one of the boys a silver Tarvalin
the
mark.
coin.
Yes, she
Right.
gives each of the boys a silver Tarvalin mark that ties those boys to her, because one of those three boys is special. She doesn't know which one yet, but she knows that one of those three boys is of the correct age to do special things in the world at a later time. But she doesn't know which one yet. So the
Right.
and this is when I really started to think that Rand and Matt were closer than Perrin was to either one of the other two. Because if I remember correctly, I think Matt tried talking Perrin into buying something with his, saying it would be okay if he didn't keep his. I could be wrong
Yes.
there.
No, you're right. You're right. And then all of them kind of decided
And then Perrin said,
to keep
"Oh
it.
no, I think I'll keep it." Yeah, but I
Yep.
yeah, but Matt tried talking him into, "Oh, I think it'd be okay if you bought something from the peddler with that," and so on and so forth.
Yep.
So then the boys discuss, what it's like to meet an Aes Sedai, what the Aes Sedai was wanting, if she was wanting to to harm them or eat them or any of the other horrible stories that they've heard about Aes Sedai throughout their young age.
Yep, and that everything an Ice Guy does always has a price.
Yes. And it's not
Yep,
always the price that it appears.
exactly. Yes. Yep. And that kind of gets us to Tam and Rand leaving again before, because
Yep.
Tam wants to go home that
Mm.
night instead of staying in town. Was
Yes.
there a reason given? I don't remember.
I don't think there's. I think they had to take care of the sheep and everything before
Yeah.
Beltane, so they needed to return home, take care of the sheep, and do all that stuff before they came back to town for Beltane. Because this is the day before Beltane, so
Right.
they had obligations to take care of on the farm before they returned the next day.
Right.
So Rand and Matt go home. They leave,
Rand and Tam
or
go home.
well, Matt is Tam backwards, so I'm kind of right. Um, so Tam and Rand.
Oh, I never even realized.
So Rand and Tam leave on with their trusty steed, Bella.
Bella.
Their trusty steed, Bella. They go back to.
I get excited every time she comes up in a book. I'm like, it's Bella.
Yes, yes. So they make it back, and shit kicks off that night.
Yeah, winter night
Yeah, shit kicks off.
where it's supposed to be kind of a party.
Yeah,
We're supposed
everyone's.
to be eating and drinking and having fun, and they don't.
There was some eating. There was some eating.
Eating of people.
Eh, Tomato, tomato. I mean,
Oh God.
so the Two Rivers gets attacked by Trollocs.
Yes. And so, well, we don't actually know that the Two Rivers is being attacked. Tam and Rand get attacked by Trollocs.
Tam and Rand do get attacked by Trollocs.
And Narg
Narg,
introduces himself.
Narg no hurt. Narg no
And that
hurt.
he's not going to hurt Rand, and that Rand is special, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
So the Shadow Swan was sent to
Yeah.
take the three boys, not to hurt the three boys, because one of them
Is special.
is special. They're
Which
all
we don't
special, but
know
one
anything
of
about
them,
yet.
yeah, they're all
But
special, but one of them is somebody that could benefit them greatly. What's that?
yes, is actually special. They're all special.
They are all special. The
We
girls
do
are
find
too.
out that Tam has a heron marked blade,
Yeah, so Tam
which is
Tam
very odd.
Tam retrieves a sword that Rand had never seen before. In all his life, he had never seen this sword that his father brings out of a chest. And on
Under the bed.
this, yep, under the bed. And on this sword, on the blade, is the mark of a heron, which
Yep.
Rand finds
Odd.
peculiar as well. He's never
Did they
seen a.
tell us why it's peculiar?
Not at that time, they didn't.
No. Okay.
Land does later on. Land
Yes, I
explains
knew that.
how special that sword is, but at that time, it nothing is said. Just that he produces a sword with a heron mark blade.
Yep. And he stabs Narg with it, I believe.
Narg trips into it, I believe.
Something. He gets stabbed by the sword.
Yeah.
And he doesn't make it.
Narg dies. Narg dies.
The only Trolloc
The only Trolloc that ever speaks.
that
The
ever
only Trolloc
speaks
that ever had a name.
and has a name has died.
Yes. Yes. Very,
Very
very
short
short-lived.
interaction.
But Tam is also gravely injured.
Yes. And Rand makes him a litter to carry him back to town to Nynaeve, who hopefully can heal him.
He does, and to make this litter, he uses the heron mark blade to cut wood, and he notices that it took no damage at all, that the blade is still
That's true.
razor sharp.
I forgot about that.
I didn't.
Special
So he
blade.
starts taking Tam back to town.
And Tam starts fever dreaming.
Yes. Tam has his fever dream. Starts talking about bringing a boy home to the Two Rivers to his wife.
Cariel Thor,
Yep.
who coincidentally also has red hair.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess should preface all of this by saying everyone in the Two Rivers. It's a very again closed off community. Everybody looks very
Kind of looks
much
the same.
very much alike. Generally the same build, same hair color,
Same skin color,
same
eye
skin
color,
color, eye color, and then you have
roughly
Rand.
the same height.
Yes, then you have Rand, who's
Tall,
very
redhead,
tall,
pale,
very tall, especially for Two River standards. He doesn't have dark hair. He has red
red
hair,
hair, gray eyes
gray eyes. Yep.
instead of brown.
And Perrin also stands out a little bit because he's very large for
Yes.
his age. He's very stocky from, being a blacksmith apprentice. You have to be kind of
Built.
yeah,
Yes.
like it or not, you're gonna get strong.
Yeah.
So he starts going back to town. They find out that the Eamon's Field has been attacked by Trollocs.
Yep.
He gets Tam to Nynaeve
Who is running around like a crazy person.
because there's so many dead, so many injured.
Mm-hmm. Lots of houses have been lit, caught on fire,
Yep,
burning down, that sort of thing.
a lot of people made it to the inside of a Trollocs cookpot.
I don't actually know that they
I
managed to
don't
make it.
think I don't think they managed to say that, but I'm telling you right now, the Trollocs been eaten, bruh.
Oh, at this point, Lan and Moraine are collecting and burning Trolloc bodies, and they're also collecting medallions
Yes.
off of
So
the Trollocs to see how many fists. Fists?
yes,
Clans? No, how
clans.
many clans are represented?
Yeah.
And I believe Lan makes a comment about how it's a lot.
Yep. Yeah, I think it says something about that makes five,
Yep.
meaning five clans.
Yep.
So Trollocs, these Shadow Spawn are divided into clans, and
There's 13 of them, right?
I believe so. There's Dogane, Offrate,
We
Kablad.
don't need to deal with that. But point
but
being, they don't usually hang out together unless
but
there's something
each one of them has its
else.
own insignia that's signified on a medallion that the Trollocs
Yes.
wear, and each clan of is led by a different Madril, I believe, or Fade, or Eyeless, or whatever you want to call it.
Creepy black cloak guy.
Yeah, creepy black cloak guy with no eyes, pale white skin.
Mm. Yep. Um,
I believe Rand asked Nynaeve about the things that Tam said.
he did, and I don't think Nynaeve answered him.
Nynaeve
It was
didn't.
kind of one of those you're gonna have to talk to your father when he wakes up.
Yeah,
But
Nynaeve
at the
did
same
not feel
time, Nynaeve
comfortable.
also kind of said, "I can't help him."
Yep.
So that's
So,
when he goes to Moraine.
so he, against his better judgment, he takes his father to the Aes Sedai because he doesn't want to lose his father. This is his only chance to survive is by Aes Sedai healing, so he takes him to the Aes Sedai.
Yep. All the while thinking, trying to decide if this is actually a good idea or not, because the price an Aes Sedai might ask for
hmm
their help is not necessarily something you're willing to pay.
hmm But at the end of the day, whatever price she asked was worth his father's life, so
Yep.
he takes his father to Moraine. Moraine heals him, says he needs rest. He's gonna have to sleep for a while. She did everything she could to heal him physically, but he was going to
After that, it's
be
up to him
he was gonna be drained and he needed to rest. So
and
Tam
eat
is and eat a lot. Yep.
a lot.
So Tam sleeps and
In the inn, he actually takes him to the inn and then goes and gets Moraine.
hmm
Um, I believe the mayor, Master Alvier, finds him and says, "Did you talk to Nynaeve?" And he goes, "Yeah, she can't do anything."
and I think Bran was the one that suggested Moraine.
Yeah. Um, no, and she heals him, and after that, well, the next morning, I guess, or later that day after she heals Tam is like one of my favorite passages in the whole book. What happened?
Nothing. Why? What happened?
Oh, I don't know. I saw you doing stuff on your screen. So the Manetheren story in chapter 9.
Uh-huh.
Are you back?
I'm here. I've been listening.
Is one of my favorite passages.
Mm-hmm.
The Moraine monologue, the story of Manetheren, which is what existed in Emmonsfield before Emmonsfield.
Yes.
Yes. I love that story. I always thought it'd be kind of cool if Egwene was Eldrine reborn, but I don't think she is.
So, Manetheren was an ancient country that existed
Yes.
where the current Two Rivers is located. That was dead long before the breaking. Long
No.
before the breaking. Yes.
Nope. Manetheren died during the Trolloc Wars, which was after the breaking.
You're correct. You're
Mm-hmm.
correct. And it was always called the Thorn and the Dark One's Side.
But
Keep correcting me. Keep correcting me. Uh-huh. I'm
well,
gonna put my foot somewhere. But yes, it's Two Rivers people are known to be extremely stubborn, and they think that that's the old blood that runs in them from Manetheren.
yes, but they don't necessarily remember this. And Maureen's monologue is the story that reminds them, sort of their heritage way back many, many hundreds of years ago. Yep. And then after that, Moraine gets the boys, and they all run away.
Not just the boys.
Oh, Egwene. Well, no, she gets the boys, and Egwene's like, "What the heck y'all doing? I'm coming too."
Hmm.
And so Moraine,
And
knowing
Nynaeve says,
something
"Over
we
my
don't
dead
know
body,
yet,
am I gonna lose 4 of you to an Aes Sedai? Like I'm coming too. Like I will be damned if I let you take 4 of my people without me."
does Nynaeve leave with them?
Yes.
I thought she left afterwards.
No.
You sure?
Yes. As does Tom Maryland, the Gleeman.
That's right.
I know. All of them leave together. It's a
Yeah,
party of 7. 8.
8.
Yep.
You forgot Lan.
And Bella.
9. Who's not Bella? Is Bella
No.
an official character?
Bella, I mean, I think she has to be.
Well, do we have to count Mandarb then?
And Aldiab.
And Aldeeb? Yeah.
No. So the 9 of them leave the Two Rivers. And that's about where.
Episode 1 ends of the TV show.
So now, when we get into the fucking shitstorm that
It will dissipate.
Amazon decided to fucking produce, that pissed me off 15 seconds into it. As soon as Moraine started talking, I started hating it. Like,
Okay.
I mean, almost
So,
instantaneously.
so interlude aside for the show. Um, they didn't see a fate on the road, did they?
They did not. They heard
I didn't think
wolves.
so.
They heard wolves.
Yes. Yes. Which is mentioned in the books, to be fair. The
I,
number of wolves coming down from the mountain.
I'm okay with the hearing of the wolves. I am not okay with the lack of fade.
Yeah. It was a little bit. I wanted the fade.
Yes.
I wanted the fade.
I was waiting for the fade the entire time they were walking.
Yeah. They come into town and it's very expected, I think. I mean, it's different than the books, but It works. It does because it introduces Matt and Perrin.
When we first met Matt, like I thought he was a heroin addict. Like they completely fucked his character up from the word go. Like Matt is a youthful, mischievous soul. He's not a trouble. Like I expected, like my first the way they portrayed Matt in the Amazon series, I expected there to be a scene where he was shooting up heroin in a barn. Like I was waiting for that.
Oh my
Like
god.
they gave him that kind of vibes. Like he's just like a low life thieving
I
piece
thought it
of
was interesting
shit.
that they already had him gambling.
Yeah.
Because Matt
Well,
didn't really start gambling until he figured out that he could win every time.
I believe he gambled some. He obviously didn't gamble in the Two Rivers at the very beginning, but I think I,
Maybe
I won't get
Valdano.
into it, but they did on the way out of the Two Rivers later on. He was doing some gambling at some inns to try and
That's right.
pay for their meals and stuff like that. Sometimes with luck, sometimes without. I won't get too much into it because that'll be in another episode. But
Yeah, I don't think he started until later, but yeah, we can talk about that later. I did, yeah, I was surprised that they already had him gambling. Um,
I
and I
I
didn't
was
love what they did to his parents.
yeah I did not like what they did to, was it Abel, and I don't
I don't
remember
remember
his
his
mother's
mom's
name,
name.
but yeah, they made Abel Cawthon out to be an absolute low life, cheating,
Right.
adulterer, piece of crap too, and his mother was a low life drunk, and I hated the entirety of what they did to the Cawthon family in the series.
Me
Like
too.
they made that like I felt my soul die a little bit with what they did to them.
Yeah, this is gonna be maybe a little bit spoilery, but um, because Abel Cawthon is a horse trader, right? And that's where Matt learned a lot of what he knows about horses. That's so actually really important later in the books.
Hmm.
Um, to have him learning from somebody who's not an upstanding Two Rivers citizen makes it not quite as
Right,
reliable, which I don't like,
right,
knowing how important it is later in the books.
yeah, I agree with that. Um, I don't like the general diversity that they portrayed the Two Rivers with, because
True.
like we'd already said, everyone in the Two Rivers had a certain look. Like
Kind of looks the same.
it was stated in the books, they had a look of the Two Rivers about them. Like everybody had this look. Everybody was very, very similar.
It's
Like you,
actually said on page 42 that they have dark coloring.
yeah. So like everybody like almost looked like they could be related in one way or another. Like very.
Yep.
So that's what made Rand stand out so much
Right, with a
with
slightly
his
darker skin
height.
tone.
Yeah, with his height and his skin coloring being much lighter and his hair coloring being red and not dark, and
Yep.
with Perrin being so much bigger than everybody else. But when you watch the Amazon series, like you look there and you see every freaking color
Color
under the
under the
sun
sun.
there,
Yeah.
which didn't make any sense for where they were.
Being as isolated as they are.
Absolutely, I
I feel
didn't
like
agree
there would
with
have
that
been
at
more
all.
consistency across the people.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yep.
There was like you couldn't throw a rock and hit two people that you could have mistaken for family, and
Brothers.
yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't make any damn sense. I
Nope.
I did not like that they took that aspect away from it, like
Oh, this is
just as soon as you
interesting.
see the Two Rivers.
I just looked at one of my notes. The first time Rand is actually compared to a Night Eelman on page 49 for the first time.
By Tom.
I believe so. Yeah. So
Yep,
that's early.
it is
That's some super early foreshadowing.
very very.
Yeah.
So we meet Perrin in the Amazon series and find out that he's married, and I wanted to fucking hit somebody in the face as soon as I said it, because that's some bullshit.
Perhaps not happily married also
I
by their interactions. Perhaps we don't actually know, but I'm gonna guess that it was not necessarily a happy marriage.
I happy or not, it pissed me off that they had him married anyway. I
I know.
I don't have as much of an issue with them aging the children like they
Up.
did. Like if they want to put them early 20s, tomato tomato, I could really care less. Really, I could.
Right.
But Perrin has a very special storyline that he goes
He
throughout
does.
the books. I mean, all the way up until book 14. It's something that he is continuously
Working on.
striving for and working on. So for
Struggling
them
with.
to put him in a situation like they did, because I guess we should say that, or I guess we will say, like, we'll get there when we get there. Anyway, I hate the fact that they had him married here because it's just not what happened. He was not married. That's just not a thing
Well,
that
no, because
actually
he
was.
was 17 in the book.
It's actually he wasn't dating anybody. He wasn't interested in anybody. Like there was no romantic involvement in.
Of any kind.
Yeah. So for
Yeah.
this to have happened in the series, yeah, I took exception to that. Um,
Yeah. It was. I feel like it was a very less than creative way to put parent in the mindset they needed him in, but I thought there were other ways that they could
yeah,
do
there
it
are other
that
ways
would
I
have
could
been
have done it,
better.
like just evolve his story as time goes on. Because if you're planning on doing this for the entirety of the book series, then we are going to watch him evolve that character that evolves throughout the book series. There's
Right.
no need to rush it like they did. So we meet the heroin addict, we meet the married parent. um, we watch
The women's
the.
circle
I was getting ready to say we watch Nynaeve tying Egwene's hair into a bow, or not into a bow, shit,
into a
into a
braid.
braid.
Yes,
Yes.
which I actually thought that particular part of the scene with Nynaeve braiding her hair
Hmm.
was actually very nice.
So that's what signifies one of the
The
people in the
ceremonial portion of it.
women's circle is that they wear their hair in their braids. So I didn't I was okay with this scene.
Yep.
Um,
Until they
and
pushed her in
then
the water.
yeah, Nynaeve basically tries to drown her by throwing her into the fucking Wine Spring River that has like rapids and massive rocks in it. It's like just trust the river, yeah, until it kills you. But whatever. So
I
Egwene is
understand what they were trying to get at with the whole like surrendering to the river thing, which obviously has implications later on. Or if you've read the books, you understand
yeah
what that surrender is supposed to be implying. But I also don't feel like throwing every single young woman into a river
yeah.
is a wise decision for a small village.
So I actually tried rewatching that episode last night in preparation for this. I say tried because I did not make it all the way through. Like I and when we got to the scene, I actually thought to myself, like, what's the mortality rate of young women in Eamon's
I
Field?
thought that too when I watched it, because even
Like how
during
many
the
girls just
episode,
bash their head off of one of those massive rocks jutting out of the rapids and just was never seen again? And you're just like, well, I guess they're not in the women's circle, and just move on with your day. Like,
well, and when Egwene gets out of it, she's cut. She's been cut by the
uh
rocks.
huh,
And we actually also get a scene with Layla and Perrin that actually gives us a shot of her forearm and her hand, and she was torn up by the rocks.
hmm,
So like this isn't like a thing that's not you're gonna make it out of unscathed.
right. It was less than an ideal situation, to be
Yes.
sure, to be sure.
Yeah. I do like the walk and the braiding though. I thought that was a really nice way to
Yeah,
portray.
yeah, absolutely. I had absolutely no problem with the braiding and all that stuff. Like I was okay with them introducing the women's circle in that manner. And
I will say afterwards in at the wine spring, I don't know what it is, but for all of the wine spring scenes
mhm,
where Mr. Salvier and Egwene were present
mhm.
were super awkward. And I don't know why. But even like when Egwene comes back and they're like, "You're a woman now, let's celebrate," and then Mr. Salvier's like, "She still has to serve drinks."
No, that was Bran that said. Uh,
Or was it Bran?
yeah, it was Bran that told her to get to work because every empty hand they were losing money, or every empty
Right.
glass they were losing money, and Marin Alver said, "No, tonight she drinks with us."
That's right. That's
Yep.
right. I will say though, Days Conger, she was fantastic. Say what you will about the series, but Days Conger lines, casting, personality was like perfection.
Yep. And we see Matt robbing somebody because heroin addict needs his fix. I guess I don't know. Yeah,
Oh, we did miss the part where he stole a bracelet.
that's what I'm talking about. He robbed somebody.
Yes, stole a bracelet to buy a lantern for his sister.
3 lanterns.
For his sisters.
Yep. I think he had 2 sisters, so one for each sister and one for him.
Yeah. Um,
We get
which
entered.
is very sweet, but also upsetting that he has to steal to get the lanterns.
Like in the books, Matt has the personality to where if you made a fresh baked pie and set it up in your window
It
to
is
to
totally
cool
stolen.
down, oh yeah, Matt would 100% take that every time and go
And
share it
eat it.
with Rand and Perrin. Like, hey guys, you want some pie? Like, he's that kind of mischievous. Not the I'm gonna steal
Right.
this
Oh, he's
gold
not going to steal
bracelet
your
from
bracelet that's
yeah
actually valuable.
yeah I'm gonna steal a gold bracelet from this girl at the inn and pawn it off to this dude.
Right.
I just like I said, the way they portrayed Matt throughout the entirety of the series just on Amazon just absolutely pissed me off. Pissed
Yeah.
me off absolutely.
Yeah. I wasn't not a fan of that.
Yep.
I did think it was sweet though that Rand and Perrin tried to help him out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
So while they're in the Wine Spring Inn, they get a couple guests. One of which is not Tom Maryland, which pissed me off that Tom Maryland never showed up in Eamon's Field.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
But it
extraordinarily
was
disappointed at that.
it was Landon Moraine.
So a dark cloaked man steps into the inn
They were totally playing him off to be a bad guy.
and Nynaeve starts walking up to him with her hand on a knife like she was going to do something to him, but he takes off his hood and introduces himself as Landman Dragarin and Moraine.
And Moraine. And who is immediately recognized as an Aes Sedai because she flashes that sparkly bangle on her finger.
I swear to Christ, that ring is the ugliest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
I agree.
So,
I
in the
agree.
in the books, all Aes Sedai wear a simple gold ring, which is
In Ouroboros.
a serpent eating its own tail.
Right.
Simple gold ring. That's all it is. Amazon made the most gaudy, horrific, ugly, atrocious abomination they fucking could have. Like I
Tell us
think
tell us
I
how you really feel.
their props department sat down and said, "How can we fuck this up the worst?
Oh
Here's what
god.
we're gonna do." And that's what they did. It
Yes.
is absolutely atrocious. So the Aes Sedai, as we'll find out later on, and we've already through episode 1 of the Amazon series, we met 2 of the Ajahs. We meet the Reds when
In episode
they
1?
yes,
Oh right, because Logain.
yes, the
Yes.
Reds capture Logain, and we can tell that they're Reds because they have this horrific fucking ring on their finger with a red stone in it, and
Well,
they're
and they're
also
wearing all
all
red.
wearing red.
To be fair though, when the Red Aja leaves the tower, they do in the books, they do actually wear red.
Right.
Not
And
not all Ajas do that, but the Reds do.
they do. And
Yes. Well,
throughout
predominantly red.
throughout the entire first season of without giving too much away, throughout the entire first season of the Amazon series, every Ajah's done that outside the tower. Every time you meet an Ajah outside the tower, they're wearing the color of their Ajah on their clothing. When we
Right.
meet the greens, they're wearing greens. When we meet the reds, they're wearing reds. When we meet the blues, they're wearing blues.
I believe the Blues, correct me if I'm wrong, this might have just been a mud thing. but I believe part of the blue lure is when you leave, you don't have to wear all blue, but you do have to wear blue socks or stockings.
I honestly couldn't tell you.
I was
I
a blue.
I don't remember that,
So
but
I don't know where that came from. Maybe New Spring.
possibly.
Um, but point being is that they all kind of have their own traditions when leaving the tower, and a lot of them are at least somewhere to wear your color.
But I'm okay with Amazon having the sisters of the
Distinguishing
different
for
Ajahs
the
wearing
masses.
wearing the clothing of their Ajah so that we know, oh hey, well this one's a blue, this one's a red, this one's a green. I'm okay with that. You can do
Yeah,
that
I am too.
without the gaudy fucking ring on their goddamn finger. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
how many different ways do you need to signify an Aes Sedai's Ajah? Are they gonna put fucking neon signs over their head in season 2, like red? Like what the fucking like red, red,
Red,
red.
green,
I mean,
green.
it's like that's ridiculous. It's
It is
horrific. It's stupid. It's dumb.
gaudy, but it is what it is. They've made their decision.
Amazon, if you're watching this, be ashamed. Be very ashamed.
They're not watching.
Be ashamed.
Oh my god, you never want to get invited to our premiere, do you? Ever.
Not if this is the shit they're gonna produce. Hell no. Um.
Help me out here, dude.
So we I completely lost my train of thought. Okay, so we
Okay,
we meet
yeah. So
Moraine
we meet
and
them.
Lan.
We get a lovely shot of Land's rear end
Yes.
for the ladies.
So
I do actually. I'm not the biggest fan of the bathtub scene, but I do appreciate the fact that they used it to show that the Aes Sedai Warder relationship is typically more of a platonic one.
yes,
I did appreciate that they actually took the time to say
unless you're green.
these guys are so close that they share a bathtub, but that's literally all it is.
Yep. They're
Yeah,
they're literally just bathing together. There's nothing sexual about it.
exactly. Which I enjoyed that they took the time in the episode to display that.
It actually took me a long time reading through the books to realize that Lan wasn't in fact in love with Moraine. I mean, it truly did. Like
You need
I'm
to read New Spring.
like, well, and I haven't read Newspring. That's the only book
You need
I
to.
haven't. Like, I haven't read the prequel, but I've read the main series, book 1 through 14, cover to cover. But like it
Is
was
that your cat other
probably
side? All I saw was like two little eyes behind you.
yeah, probably he's probably chilling out down here somewhere. I'm sure it was into book 2 before I realized like, oh, it's more like a brother sister relationship than
Yeah,
a
but that's
husband
why
wife
I do
relationship
like that the
because
show took the time to explain like this isn't always romantic.
they did, but they also distanced Lan and Moraine drastically throughout the first season.
They
Like
did.
in the reason I thought that they were essentially married in the books is because like
They
Lan
did
would
everything.
Lan would not let Moraine out of his sight. It was his job to protect her, and by God, he was gonna fucking do it. Like you ain't gonna stop him. And
Right.
Moraine knew better than to try to stop him. And
Yeah.
as we get further into the Amazon series, that shifts to a completely different narrative.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that later.
Right. That's why I'm not going to get
Um
into that.
so anyway, let's go on to Winter Night.
Okay. What do we
Um
okay.
I as cliche as I feel like it is, I kind of enjoyed the fact that they were dancing and somebody literally just gets like hayad with,
Yeah.
with
Just spear right through the freaking stomach
right through the while
chest
they're
cavity.
dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um I think um I think the battle sequence itself and the destruction that happened was probably the best part of episode 1. They filmed it very well.
I will give them kudos. I thought that the Trollocs looked phenomenal. I thought
Yes.
they did
Mhm.
a real good
They
job
were
with
properly scary.
Yes, they were a horror. Like Trollocs are creatures out of your nightmares. I mean, they're not, cute, fluffy puppies and like I mean, and they generally were just
I
massive
love that
horror monsters.
I really love because it would have been so easy for them to not stay true to the books with the Trollocs. And I love that they chose to stay true to the abominations that the way that they were created. I'm not going to say how they were created, but that they stayed true to the human esque animal mutilation things that Trollocs are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Going back quickly, one thing that I was not a fan of was so there's a scene, I think right towards the very, very beginning. It might even be before Rand and Tam make it into Eamon's Field, where I think it's actually how the series opens. The Reds are chasing Logain,
Oh, yes.
and they shield him, and Moraine looks
They're
at
actually
Lan,
not chasing Logain. It's just some random male channeler.
or whoever it was. But
Yeah, it's just a random
they
crazy dude.
they find him, they shield him, they gentle him, they do whatever the hell it is that they do. And yeah, that was my cat that just walked by. And Moraine says it's not him. Uh, but there's four Tavern in the two rivers. Like she just happens to know this bullshit. First off, there's no way that she just knows this bullshit, and secondly, there's only three.
I don't even know. Does she? She doesn't figure out that they're Taviran
No,
until
she doesn't know that they're
Faldara.
Tavern. She just knows that one of those three boys is special. She does not know
Right,
that
but
they're
well,
Tavern.
she is the first person to figure out that they are Taviran, but I
Yes.
don't think that happens until Faldara.
Yeah, she doesn't know it before she gets to the two rivers. Like,
Certainly not.
and there's not four. There's three.
I wonder if they're gonna include something later in the show to explain that. Like, I'm not gonna say anything, but when Maureen goes to see those two sisters specifically, um, but it could also be, which is kind of everything that's weird. I'm kind of chalking up because Robert Jordan loved false narrators. Um, and making people think something that wasn't necessarily completely true. And I wonder if they did a lot of false
And
narration
Amazon
in the
took it to
show.
the extreme and did an entire fucking season that was falsely narrated.
Right. Well, not everything, but I wonder if
95%.
stuff like that, like the Fort Taviran thing, is false narration and not um accurate. If like
I don't.
just because it's what Maureen believes doesn't make it true.
So anyway, when we see the Reds, I did notice one small thing. Uh, when the Reds went to shield the man that they were chasing, and they went to use the power, they went to use Sadar. Well, a couple things happened. The first thing was they were talking about him channeling, and that when he touches it, he makes it dirty, which is absolute bullshit. Now that might be
Is
something that Reds actually think. I'm not
right. I
saying
have
that
a
that's not
feeling
the
that's
Red
more of a
thoughts.
Leandrin view of the world
Yeah,
rather
but
than a
it's incorrect regardless of.
it's a false narrator thing.
Yeah,
It's a Leandrin perspective, and as we learn more about Leandrin, we'll understand
but there's
more about
also
that
nothing visual that happens when they channel.
right because it's
Whereas
from the perspective of the man.
part of it, part of it isn't. Um, and then when we get to Eamon's Field and we have this massive battle between Lan and Moraine and
And the
the Shadow
Trollocs.
Swan, you can act physically see like the weaves coming in, which I, I didn't dislike the fight scene. I thought it was neat how they kind of tied the two of them together, Lan with his sword
I
and her with her weaves. I,
I loved how the two of them sort
yes,
of danced
yes.
rather than and worked together. Like you could tell that they've been doing this a really long time. I thought that was done superbly well.
Yeah, there were two bright spots of this episode that didn't make me want to gouge out my fucking eyes, and that was the way that they did the Trollocs and that fight scene. Everything else was utter horseshit and garbage, but
Be
those
nice.
that was me being nice. If they butchered the rest of everything, but those two things were well done. Um, we see the Trollocs get to Rand and Tam's farm. They've
Yes.
lit a lantern for uh,
Kari.
Kari, correct?
Which was really, that scene was not in the books.
It wasn't, but I
Actually,
didn't.
the entire lantern thing was not in the
No,
books.
they didn't do anything with the
Um,
lanterns in the book. I don't think they mentioned lanterns
I
in the book. I
do
could be wrong though.
think I do think they added that scene in the way that they did it with Tam and Rand for because of something that happens later in the series, a specific interaction between the two of them, and I actually I enjoyed that scene.
Yeah,
I thought it was really meaningful as far as their relationship and
yeah,
what happens with their relationship as the series goes on.
yeah. I was okay with it. Uh, Narg shows up, but I Trolloc showed up. I don't know if it's
Did he
Narg. He
actually
didn't.
say he was Narg
No,
in the
he didn't
show?
fucking say he was Narg.
Boo.
Again, another missed opportunity. Way to go,
Yeah.
Amazon. Uh, all you had to do was have that big motherfucker just say Narg no hurt, and I'd have been happy. We'd have called it a win, man.
But like best show ever.
You missed the mark, bro. Uh, the Heron Mark blade comes out.
Yes.
It I wasn't sure exactly how they were gonna mark it, if it was gonna be on the hilt or on the blade. I think they did it on the hilt.
No, it's on the
Am I?
blade.
Is it on the blade there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Which I
Again, I
think
did not make it all the way back through episode 1 last night.
I think it being on the blade is different from the books.
No,
No, no,
no,
it's not.
no, it's not.
But I
That's why
do
I
think
thought it might have been on the hilt because they fucked up everything else out of the book. So I thought they might have gotten
right.
that wrong too.
I do think though the actual Heron Mark blade is beautiful.
Mhm.
The way that they crafted it. The heron is gorgeous. The it's it's a lovely prop piece, I think.
I'll have to look at it again. But no. So Tam gets hurt. Rand kills the Trolloc. Loads Tam up. Uh, I actually didn't make it back to the part of him in the fever dream.
So there is no fever dream in episode 1.
Okay.
Rand does not reveal. I mean, there is. They just don't put it on screen. That's not revealed until later on
Okay.
in the show.
He gets Tam back to town. That basically goes.
Nynaeve says I can't help him.
Yeah.
He gets Moraine.
That
Um,
essentially coincides with the books to an extent. I don't think he ever made it to the end. I think Tam got healed in the streets. Because, I mean,
I
Eamon's Field is in fucking shambles. There's bodies everywhere.
don't
Everybody
remember,
needs healing.
honestly.
I'm pretty sure it's right there in the streets because that's where Moraine gathers.
How do you feel? Ooh, how do you feel about
Oh,
Moraine
and
ripping apart the wine spring?
Nynaeve gets fucking drug apart or drug away by a fucking Trolloc.
That's right. Nynaeve's not there.
Yeah, Nynaeve gets
She's
drug away
gone.
by a Trolloc. Yep,
She was like hair yanked, dragged off.
yep. I think she
Yep.
went to help. Her and
Which
Egwene were
didn't happen in the
hiding.
books.
Her and Egwene were hiding somewhere, I believe, and
Yep.
Trollocs
Found
snatched
them.
her ass up, and away they go.
Yep. So that's different from the books.
Absolutely different. So,
I don't. I don't know. I've gotten to the point now in TV shows where if you don't see a body, they're not dead.
yeah,
So I know they tried to make it off like she's dead, but it's happened so much at this point. If there's no body, they're not dead.
yeah. So, Nynaeve gets Perrin, who Perrin and his wife are fighting off Trollocs in the forge. Perrin,
Any
Perrin gets jump
whoopsie
scared and puts an axe right in his made up wife's chest because she,
stomach.
or the chest, stomach, tomato,
Somewhere in the upper body section.
abdominal region.
Anyway, he kills her.
Yeah,
with an axe.
she's dead, which is fine because she didn't exist in the books anyway. So can you really kill a made up fucking character?
I
She never
again,
existed.
I understand why they did it. I thought it was an uncreative way
It
to put Marion in
was
that position for what's going to happen
horseshit.
later. But
So his wife is dead.
yes, his wife is dead. His possibly pregnant wife is dead.
Yes, when I was watching it yesterday, I did notice that they showed a couple scenes of his hand on her stomach and things like
Yes.
that. So that led me to believe that maybe they were expecting as well. I don't
Or maybe they
think
were hoping and
I,
didn't know yet,
I
or
don't think it was ever mentioned in the Amazon series that she was or she
I
wasn't
don't
or
think
they
they
were
ever
trying
confirmed
or
it.
anything like that. Yeah. So Perrin's wife is dead. So it's just Matt, Perrin, Egwene, and Rand. And Moraine tells him that one of them
Is special.
is special. She doesn't know which one, but
But
one
they
of
all have to
those
come with
four.
her and leave town, and they're all just like, parents. The parents are like, and they're like, all right.
Except for Tam. Tam doesn't say shit because he's,
He nods.
but
He
he doesn't,
nods.
like I said, he doesn't say shit.
It is interesting though because in the books, Moraine says you have to come with me. You cannot tell anyone.
Yes, and she does this right in the middle of the
Um,
street. Like it's right in the
and
middle of
and
town.
in the show, she does it where everybody
Yep.
can hear.
In front of God and everybody. Just right there in the
Right.
middle of town.
And the kids actually get approval from some of their parents who are there.
Because they don't know if they need to trust an Aes Sedai. They just almost single
Right.
handedly tore their town apart. Granted, it was fighting to fight Trollocs, but
Yep.
so
Um,
they leave.
so they leave, and that's where we're ending this episode.
No Nynaeve and no Tom.
No Nynaeve, no Tom, off in the woods with three potential heroes, four potential heroes. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where episode 1 ends. And that's where episode 2 of their shitstorm's going to begin. That was nice. I could have used much more vulgar language than that. So, anyway, next week we will pick up from there at the start of episode 2 and where we were in the books with what actually happened to the Emansfield 5.
Yep.
But yeah.
The EFF.
The EFF. The EF5.
The
EF5.
Evansfield 5.
The EF5. Yep.
Yep.
So, we will pick up